Welcome to the Ambronite Superhero Podcast with Simo. This show is your backstage pass to discussions with world-class influencers in the field of health and high performance. We bring you the selected tips and insights that you can use to upgrade your life and become unstoppable.
And welcome to the Superhero Podcast. It's me, your host, Simo, together joined by an awesome guest, Zsombor Deak, professional triathlete. This special episode is going to deal with the exciting sides of endurance sports, triathlons, Ironman marathons, Ironman races, and will be of special interest to anyone who is interested in how to amplify their daily performance with food and reach even the top of the world in their craft by doing so, and combining that with some amazing advice and inspiration from today's guest, Zsombor Deak. Zsombor, so welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for the invitation.
It's amazing to have you on board, man. I've been really looking forward to our discussion. And so, how do you usually introduce yourself? You have a pretty amazing background. So
I'm doing triathlon more than 10 years. So it's actually a really long time. This is, I think, my 12th season, and of course the beginning is the beginning was very tough actually, but I really enjoyed, and it's step by step. Every year I'm learn a lot and I improve the sport. So when I started sport, I didn't know what I'm doing in the triathlon. I was only 16 years old, and before, of course, I was a really active child. So I'm doing every sport, and my classmate just invited to, you're a really good runner. Why not should try a triathlon? And like, oh yeah, it sounds great. And I just tried. Of course, the first race was crazy. I had I have a supermarket bike what I used in the first race.
And when was this? Which year was this?
Sorry?
Like way back in the beginning?
Yeah, it was the first race, so it was 2006 or something like that. So yeah, it's a really long time. Actually, the bike what I used, it's built up me and my cousin with two supermarket bike. So it was not the best bike actually.
Incredible.
Yeah, I raced with this bike, and I did the first trial, and then started the bike, and I so excited, and then it was, I think, 7 loops or something like that, and the second loops, just the handbar is not the handbar, the gear is broke. I'm like, oh
dear.
what should I do? And fortunately, the organizers helped me to fix the bike. So I finished the race, and I was so happy. and then I love the sport, and I just continue to do the sport. So that was my first race. But
that's pretty incredible. And from there, you've come a long way from a 16-year-old kid on a self-built supermarket bike into a world-class professional triathlete. So fast forward a couple of years, what has happened, for example, during the last 12 months in your athletic career?
So it was a really, I think it's a really nice life, because at the beginning I just always want to be better. This is same like today. I always want to be better, but the beginning was easy to be better day by day. No, it's more harder. The beginning, so yeah, I just enjoy the race, and I training a lot, and actually I didn't know what I'm doing. I didn't focus more like the nutrition or the training plan. I just always do what I want, and sometimes so much training. And yeah, but in the beginning it was easy to improve. So I have some really good result in the beginning. of course, not as big like now, but like I don't know, I win a race in the city, which is wow, it was amazing, and then I win a race in my country, and then it's it's a long story. So yeah, after the high school, I started to study in the sport education university, where I also doing professional sport, or I started to do actually professional sport, and I getting better and better results as well. So it's very inspired me to continue sporting after the study. So after study, um, I I realized if I want to be really professional athlete, I need to do something special. So that's why I moved to Australia, where is the best athlete is trained there. So it's a very different triathlon culture uh, in Australia. The weather is perfect actually for training, and of course every facility and everything is very good. And when I moved in Australia, actually uh, I studied in business, and of course I need to work because I need to pay the school and everything. And then of course I'm doing training because I moved there because the sport. And
Sure. And this was when you moved in to Australia to follow your dream. When was this actually?
it was 2012.
2012. Right.
Yeah. And of course, like in Australia, before I in home I have a couple of sponsors, so I was like half professional athlete. But when I moved there, I wasn't anything, so I was I was start again in the for the nothing. So it
Sure.
was build up everything. And in the first year it was so tough, so I every day I woke up 5 o'clock and go to training, then I go to school, and then I do go to work. So it was every day I start 5 6 o'clock and finish 10 o'clock, and I do this 7 days for 7 days. So it was non-stop doing this one. So if somebody say before this one I can do this, I say, oh no, it's not possible to do. But I did because I was really motivated to improve the sport and be professional athlete. And it was a very tough period, but and very hard. But in my first half Ironman race as a professional athlete was amazing. I finished in the top 5 in the 4th place, and it was amazing because no one know who I am, and I also don't didn't know what I am doing, and it was a huge step in my career because after I finished 4th in my first professional race and the second race I also finished 4th place, which was amazing, and it's start my international professional career. And then everything starts. So I slowly I got sponsorships, and yeah, I start to learn to earn by the sport. So I'm full-time professional athlete already 5 years. So yeah, that's a really good story, and it's also a good story for someone else. So if you want to be doing something really serious, you can do it. Just need to work really hard.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect story to destroy all all excuses in your way from pursuing your dream. I mean, you really went to a great length there as a young athlete. And how did it feel like finishing 4th in an international competition when practically no one knew who you were?
It's funny because when I finished 4th, I was I was angry because I want to finish in the third place, and it's funny because it's the first it was in a half Ironman, so 1.9 kilometers swimming, and then 90k riding bike, and then 21 kilometer running, and I was third place until 20 kilometers. So it was only 1k in the finish, and I in a Japan Olympic guy catch me in the last k.
Wow.
So so it wasn't a good memory in after the race. However, I did an amazing race, and I couldn't push even more because I push maximum in myself. And of course, it was an amazing result. But when I finished, I was I was sad. But yeah, I think after it was amazing, and of course I was happy after, I don't know, like a half day. But I remember the first couple of hours I was unhappy.
That might be a well-fitting description for your own ambitions as a young athlete that still keep on going and keep on giving. How did it kind of impact you the first when you came into the triathlon world as this kind of a young guy who just suddenly popped up on the field of professional Ironman sports? How did that how did that fast forward the developments during the next years? Like, what happened then?
So yeah, it was a big change because I meet a lot of people, and of course I had a name after. So even before, of course, I paid for the race, and then the organizers pay for me to go in a race. So this is a really big difference. So yeah, it was a big change actually. So
And after that, you've been racking up some quite impressive results in the world of triathlon and in the world of global Ironman racing.
yes. So after I race everywhere around the world, especially I racing in Australia and in Asia, Ocean Pacific area, and of course in Europe in my home. So this is 3 area where I am racing in the last 5-6 years already.
And you actually just came back from a race. Could you tell our audience a little bit about that challenge?
Yeah. So in the last 9 months, I lived in Australia, and I moved back. Actually, I live summer by summer, which is great. And now I come back to Europe because it's in Australia. It's winter, coming winter, and when I moved here, I stopped in Belgium for a race and a half Ironman international half Ironman, and I finished second place, which is a great result. For me, it was the first serious race in this season, so it's a good result because I think it's every. So it was some really small mistake, which is normally in the first race of the season, but it's a really good start. So I really happy about that one, and I hope will be a really good season. I feel much better than the last 2 season, which is really good, and yeah, I'm also really hungry for another race and for another good result. So it's a good season start.
Incredible! Congratulations. That's quite amazing. And looking back at your younger self, which I'm sure many people in the audience are also very interested in. Like, when did you first understand as a kid that you want to be a professional competitive athlete? how did that kind of dawn on you?
Look, this is a really interesting thing. So I never realized, or I never know I would I will be a professional athlete. So when I started doing triathlon, it wasn't a serious goal. Of course, I would, but when I was child, I like 7 years old, I would be. It was my dream to be a professional athlete. I don't know what sport, but yeah, when I started triathlon, I just enjoyed the sport. So, and I improved and I was better, and then I just realized, okay, I can be professional athlete, and it's so when I was 20, I actually I had some really nice result when it's like it's when I can say it was a professional level. And when I moved in Australia, that was when I because I want to be professional athlete, that was the step, I think. So but it's like really really not, I cannot say like one point one day, okay,
Sure.
tomorrow I would like to be professional. It's like a longer period.
Makes sense. So, what are some of the where are some of the focus areas that are important for you as an athlete that you feel like are really specific for you? Do you have like a secret recipe for your amazing success that you can kind of attribute some of your past performances to, or how do you look at being a professional athlete in your own way?
Yeah, it's if you are a professional athlete, it's not just it's a difficult, it's not like just you do the sport and that's it. So you need to be uh it's what to say, so like it's one part you're doing your training and you are doing your race and result, but you need to connect with sponsors, you need to do the marketing stuff, and of course you need to work like the social media and meeting with the sponsors. And for me it's very important to give back something for the give back something. So that's why I'm also doing like presentations in the schools for childs and also for adults. Uh, and sometimes I'm doing like group training, which I really like it. My favorite, of course, the presentation for the kids, which is amazing, and where I try to motivate it, and of course want to want to share the triathlon. So it's a very good it's a really good opportunity for me as well for motivation, because after like a great presentation I have a motivated I'm more motivated for the next week training or something like that. So I like this stuff.
Yeah, I can definitely see that link there, being an inspiration and also kind of fueling your own inspiration by kind of showing and sharing that passion with the younger generation.
Yes, I think it's very important, because they be honest, the new generation is more staying in home and playing with the games, and I don't know, searching in the Google and stuff like that. So it's not as active like, I don't know, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, when everybody go out and running and I don't know, playing. So it's a big difference, the new world. And I think it's very important to share the sport, because it's very important to be active, healthy.
So what would you recommend for someone who is just preparing for their first serious race in triathlon, and looking at the challenge, say 1 year from now, say someone would be signing up for a race, what would your expert tips be for someone in that situation?
Yeah, so the triathlon is have many distance. So the beginning is the sprint distance is the smallest distance, and the Ironman distance is the longest distance. But of course, there have ultra triathlon and everything, but it's more crazy stuff. If somebody want to start triathlon, I definitely start with a short distance, which is a sprint distance or maybe Olympic distance. The sprint distance is only 750 meters swimming, and then a 20-kilometer biking, and then finish with 5K run. I think it's perfect for start, for a beginning, or Olympic distance, which is twice distance the sprint. I definitely not start with long distance triathlon. If you have something in background, if you was a runner or something, you have a really active, it may be possible to do like half Ironman, but it need to be really careful and build up step by step. Definitely not start with Ironman distance, because I think it's not healthy if you start like with Ironman. You need to be your body ready for the Ironman, and it need many trainings and everything for the muscle, bones, and everything for ready to the Ironman. I think for sprint distance, don't need even a year preparation, maybe half year, and you can ready for the sprint distance race, and then you can training next for Olympic distance, and then this is the way for the challenging, because if you start triathlon, you will be love it the sport, I think, and be motivated as well. I think it's, which is very important for the beginners, it's to train as much as what you can recover. So it's not good if you train too much and your body cannot recover. So I think it's much better if you train a bit less than a bit more, because of course you can train, like, give you an example, like you can run 10 kilometer, but maybe your body enough if you run 8 kilometer in the beginning. So always need to be really careful. Don't do too much. And of course, it's more important to be careful in the food, to refreshing after the training, which is of course also one of the most important things. And yeah, it's also good if you have a training plan, what you want to doing, and not you are okay today, I don't know, sunny day, so maybe I go out running, and tomorrow okay again do. It's much better if you have a plan day by day. It's if you have opportunity to have a coach or an experience people about the triathlon, it's help a lot, who can help and share with the training tips and everything. So yeah, I think so. It need how to say. So it need more time, and just take it easy and enjoy the way to the racing. I think that's the key.
I think that's great advice. How does your own training schedule look like as a professional now that you're doing several races a year and have a long also surely you have some longer term goals that are ahead for you as a pro athlete. So how do you make sure that you have an optimal training schedule yourself?
So the season is always different. Like this season, I start a little bit later than the last few season. Normally, I start around 2, 3, sometimes 4 months, which is more like the basic endurance training, and then start more like racing specific trainings. The normally week, it's for me, it's around 10-15 trainings per week, which sounds crazy. By hours, it's 20 to 30 hours training per week. And yeah, like if I say by numbers, it's like plus 15 kilometers swimming, and then like 500 kilometer riding, and then another 50 to 80 kilometer running. So this is like a normally weeks if I don't have race. If I have a race, it's the volume is it's a bit less, and of course when I'm doing racing, the peak season, it's a bit less training, but the intensity is more higher. So I don't know, then I training maybe for the volume 20% less than the beginning of the season, and more specific training. And of course it's sometimes because I have like 7 or 8 race per season, and maybe 1-2 race which is like a short distance or something, like for a sponsors race, which is not really serious race, but it's still a race and need to travel and everything. However, in the 8 serious race or 7 or 6, I don't know, it always depends the year, but it's always need to be travel, so it's different. When you have a race, it's need to travel, so it need to calculate in the training plan when you have traveling. So yeah, it's a challenging things, I think. For me, it's more important to be always fresh than overtrained or something like that. So yeah.
And this is something you talk about a lot, the risk of overtraining, and also the strength in timing your recovery perfectly and adequately.
Yep.
So how do you can you please explain a bit of your philosophy there when it comes to finding the right training volume and the right recovery?
Yeah, I think it's very important, because it's actually for overtraining is very easy way to overtrain. When you feel like, okay, I can do this, and you didn't feel really that you are tired, and you just train too much. Sometimes I'm also doing this one. So I know it's very easy to be overtrained. So that's why I need to be more careful in these things. If you calculate your training. I think for the beginners, of course, it's different. Everyone is different, because if you have a difficult job, you need to be calculate your job. You need to be calculate your family time, which is very important. And then it's the sport is it's very important, but it's maybe it's in the third position, can be like after the work and the family. So I think if you have time, like 5 hours training per week, it's amazing. It's enough for do a race, and don't need like 10 hours training if you don't have time, because many athlete which is doing passion, also doing age group or amateur athlete, doing really serious and doing like, I don't know, twice, maybe 50% more than they can do. So it's a very easy way to do more than as much you can do it.
So, what are some of the concrete tips and examples for people, both in the beginning and in the advanced phases of their triathlon life, to be able to not train too much and to be able to adjust their training amounts and their training schedules to avoid this? Because I think this is a common problem that seems to be quite prevalent in the field of triathlons and in the overall field of endurance sports as well.
Yeah, so it's the best if you have a coach and you have a training plan, but you need to follow the training plan. But if you feel tired, it's need to focus and understand your body. Is tired, and if you have a tired, don't need to do you need to do maybe you are able to skip something in the plan, and maybe you need 1 day rest, and you don't need to ride a long ride. Even if you have in the plan, you have like 2 hours riding, but you feel really tired, definitely not doing this one. So always need to listen your body, and don't say, I am tired, but this is normal, of course, because I'm doing endurance sport. Of course, if you are normally tired and not like extremely tired, it's fine. But if you feel more tired than normal, just take a rest and, I don't know, do an adventure or something easier, or just go with your family out and walking or something, and don't be absent because you don't do the full training plan.
And do you use some kind of a technology to track your recoveries?
Yeah, so for me, I have a test in the morning when I wake up. Every morning I have a 10 minutes test, which I update to the PC, and then one person analyze in my recovery, and we see what's training working and what is too much. So for me, it's a bit easier. But
what kind of a test do you use?
Actually, I'm using with the heart rate monitor with like a Garmin watch, and I just checking my heart rate, and then we we doing like 7 or 8 type of analyze in the heart rate. It's more like a EKG, and we see if something not normal, and it's or if it's not normal, it's good if I have a tough day. After, of course, it's every number is not normal, but after going down the numbers, if it's good. So
Sure.
yeah, it's a
So it's kind of a, is that like a default capability of the device of your Garmin watch, smartwatch, or is that something that's or what kind of a combination of equipment do you use
so
for that?
it's actually a simple Garmin watch, and I update the watch some programs. I don't know actually right now the name of the program, which is not just checking the heart rate, checking the time of the recovery zone and everything, and yeah,
Probably like
but
a HRV, heart rate variability test there in there too, and something like a collection of those tests run through the watch.
yeah, so yeah, like this one, and like the most important, the average heart rate. How is it? So how works the average?
Great. And how about nutrition? How do you look at food and nutrition as part of your success as an athlete?
Yeah, the nutrition is, I think, is the one of the most important things in the sport, and of course in the normal life, because like in the training, you are just doing the training but not improve in the during the training. After, if you are recovered well, you can be improved. So for me, the nutrition is very important. Actually, I am a vegetarian athlete, so I need to focus more what I am eating and drinking. So
Yeah,
I have
let's talk about that a bit. How and when did you become a vegetarian, and is that what kinds of grounds do you have there as an athlete? Do you come from a kind of philosophical perspective there, or are there some health or performance factors in?
actually I never really liked meat. So when I was only 4, I didn't eat meat because I didn't like it, or still don't like it. So for me, it wasn't because I would like to be more healthy. It was, I just don't like the taste. And and right now I think it's much better to be vegetarian, but it need to be more careful, and of course need to calculate everything. What are you eating? I don't say if you are not vegetarian is not healthy, because the meat is not a bad things, but the normal people eat more meat than needed.
And how do you take that into account while planning your foods and planning your nutrition? Because I think that's something that many people out there are definitely interested in hearing how you look at that equation.
Yeah, so I always when I'm eating, I focus 3 things. One is the carbohydrate and the protein, and then something veggie. So when I like cooking something, I eat like a salad and something protein, which like, I don't know, like tofu or something, and some carbohydrate, which is like rice or something like that. So I always these 3 types, which is I always eat these 3 things together.
And how about, for example, before a race or before a tough training session, do you have like how do you prepare your food and your nutrition before and after?
Oh, yeah. So it's the training and before the race, it's a different way. I'm more careful before the race, but the normal life, I always more open, so I try some new things, or it's fine. But the race, before the race, it's more serious, so I just eat what I know it's working. Like before the like example, before training, uh, I'm eating something what actually I can use in during the training, and more carbohydrate. And then after the training, in a beginning, I the first 1 hour, I drink a shake, protein or something, and fruits, and then I eat something serious like pasta or something. Yeah, this is like a normal training. So I always eat before and after the training, like 1 hour after, and so I never eat too much before the training. So I just eat a little bit, or sometimes like just take a shake, Ambronite shake with water. This is my favorite. I can do this like 20 minutes, even 20 minutes before the training, because it's a very good, easy to diet, and it's no problem for me, the stomach. So I can use the energy and everything in the training. For me, it's it's sometimes I don't I don't have enough time to eat enough, because I burn a lot during the day when I have like 5 hours riding and then like another 1 hour swimming. It's burn a lot. So
What kinds of amounts of calories are we talking about?
So it's like during 5 hours riding, it's almost like 2.5-3,000 calories, which is a lot. Of course, I already eating during the training, so I start the nutrition in the train during the training.
Sure, your daily averages would go up to 5, 6, maybe even 7,000.
Yeah. So it's sometimes like this one. Of course, I have a easier day, or maybe sometimes I have just maybe 2 hours training or 3 hours training when I have more like stuff, harder training. But the average is like 4 or 5 hours training per day. So yeah, that means it's a lot of calorie.
Yeah, that's a lot of food. How,
Yeah, a
how
lot of.
how do you combine that when you're traveling all the time? Like, do you have some go-to meals or go-to snacks, or how do you plan your nutrition and the food around your traveling schedule?
Yeah, it's really important when you travel. Don't forget to eat and drink enough. So uh, I always have some muesli bars, and I use Ambronite. It's amazing, especially like a long flight. Uh, Using just easy to put some water to the Ambronite and just shake, and you have a good nutrition. You don't eat some junks, even if you are travel, which is great. But yeah, it's need to always calculate how long is the traveling, and what's the calorie what you need. in during the travel.
And when you compare yourself to the other top athletes in the Ironman world globally, how do you see yourself doing things differently than them? Obviously, not many of them are vegetarian. Can you see any other differences?
Um, yeah, the nutrition is for me it's especially because I'm vegetarian, which is not normal in the triathlon. However, if I looking like the marathon runners, the Ethiopian runners, which is almost everybody is vegetarian, and still they are the faster runners in the world. So it's working. For me, this is a different part because I'm vegetarian, and which is also different me and the other top guys in the world. I think I need to work more harder than the normal top guys athletes because I'm come from Romania, whereas the triathlon is not as popular, and it's the triathlon school. It's not as good as like in other country, so which is very easy, or they learn it in the beginning. It's something missing for me, but no, I work maybe more harder than they to incorporate to the what I'm missing.
And who are some of the athletes that you want to aspire to? Like, do you have any athletes that inspire you? Doesn't have to be triathlon.
Yeah, I think I don't have like one athlete where is like my idol or something like that. I always want to check what doing any athlete, even if it's not professional athlete, can share something what you can learn. So I think I open always my eyes and I check what others doing, and if I think if I feel it's a good things, I try maybe a training tips or maybe just food tips or something. So I always open for the new things.
So what are some of the tips that you've tried lately that have been good findings that you've been incorporating into your daily practice?
It's a difficult question because there is a lot. Which part are you thinking, or?
Yeah, like just anything that you've maybe found someone else doing and tried it yourself and found it was a good idea.
Okay, so I don't know, like last week I just learned that if you don't have a electrolyte drink during the training, you can use simple salt. Just put salt in the water, and it's more better than the normal water because you can use that one. This is just an example what I learned in the last week.
And what kinds of electrolyte drinks do you usually use when you're training and racing?
I'm using tablets, electrolytes, which don't berries don't have sugar or something like that. So and without carbohydrate.
Do you have a favorite brand or a favorite type?
Actually, I don't have favorite brand. Maybe my favorite what I use many times. It's an Australian brand. The name is Shots. That's working for me. But I'm using a lot of brands, so I'm not just using one brand.
How about in terms of gear? What's some of your favorite choices when it comes to triathlon gear? Because that's always a big discussion, of course, and a center of attention for many people watching and following triathletes.
Do you mean like the bike gear or like?
Yeah, in terms of equipment, all the equipment that you use, like what are some of your favorite choices of equipment in terms of your racing kit?
Yeah, I always try to use the best quality equipment. For me, is very important because it can help a lot if you have a good equipment, which is for me very important to use equipment like which is working. And of course, I try to work the best brands together, and which for me means if I have a good equipment which is working for me, I want to keep it and don't use another one. And
So, for example, looking at your bike, what kind of a bike are you using currently, and what are some of the features that you feel are most helpful for you in your latest successes?
So I'm using a triathlon bike, which is like a time trial bike. The brand is a Chinese brand, Super Race. This is a full electric shifters and 11 speed. What else? I'm using over pulley, which is amazing. This is SLF motion. And of course, I'm using a power meter. It's a B Pro power meter, Italian brand, which has helped me a lot to analyze my training. And I'm using Casco helmet, which is a German brand, also amazing in quality. And the sunglasses are 70.3, it's a 720 Armor brand, which is also for me very good and one of the best quality. And the race suits and the training suits, it's a CCN Sport. It's a Chinese brand, very well quality. And other so the back to the bike, if I go to back to the bike, it's a medium size frame what I'm using, 45 size, and the jersey it's 53 with 38, and the back cassettes it's 11 to 38. No, sorry, 28. Sorry.
Sure.
And what else? Oh, yeah, around this one, what I using in the bike, and yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. So apart from the equipment and the food and the training, how do you ensure mental performance and cognitive performance on a race day? Like, what kinds of preparations do you do for your cognitive capability and mental toughness?
Yeah, I think the triathlon is three tribe, but it's, however, I think it's four. So swim, bike, run, and in the mind, it's very important to be very strong in the mind, and I think it's very important to training, like a normal training session do, like in mentally training, which is more like meditation, and like this one is very important. I always thinking more about what I should do, why I doing this one, and focus more myself. And it's before the training, before the training, I always thinking why I am doing this training, okay, why I help me this training, and what is my goals, why this is my goals, and yeah, it's very strong mentally. Of course, sometimes I'm down and sometimes I'm up. It's the normal, and I also working professional once a week about the mentally things. So
How does that look like? Are you do you have some certain exercises that you're doing there, or how does that training look like?
yeah, so I'm doing mindfulness exercise, which has helped me a lot. This is actually I'm doing almost every day, or sometimes twice a day. It's helped me a lot, even for relaxing. It's worked much better, and once a week I working with a sports psychologist, which is we are talking more about the plans, goals, and everything.
And in terms of the mindfulness practice, I would love to hear a bit more about this, because this has certainly had a big impact on my life and my performance, and incorporating some mindfulness and meditation practices into my daily life has definitely improved my focus and happiness. So I would love to hear a bit more about, for example, your morning practice in terms of mindfulness, if you have one, or some other times of the day, or before a practice session or training session, or how do you use mindfulness specifically?
Yeah, so I learned by a professional mindfulness teacher. It was almost three months when I learned these things every week. It's more like relaxing the whole body. Start with like relaxing the muscles, to down start the feet and up to the head, and then focus your body, like a breathing, or and your mind and everything. So it's like a 10 minutes exercise, and then when you are full relaxed, and your mental is like free, and it's helped a lot. Like maybe it's like just a 10 minutes exercise, but you are, for me, like it's keep like 2 hours recovery actually.
So let me get that again. So with a 10-minute exercise, you can reach the same effect than 2-hour recovery. Is that what you're
Yeah, I
saying?
think, yeah, it's like this. Or sometimes I'm using before sleep, and the sleep is going much easier and well.
That's
So yeah,
amazing.
I think, yeah.
How does your morning routine look like? What are some of the do you have like a morning routine that you follow when you wake up and start your day? How do you typically go about it?
Yeah, so what I said, I always wake up every day same time.
And that was
Then,
5 or was that way back in Australia, or do you still wake up at 5?
no, I'm not a early bird. I'm more like a late bird. So, but I wake up around 7 o'clock. That's my uh, normal life, and then I start do this test, what I said, and then I go to do a breaking, and then maybe if depends if I have a running, I running training. I after the break I do like 31 hours uh, rest or something, doing like some PC work or something like that, and then I start my first training. So yeah, it's actually every day. It's like the test, breakfast. Maybe I have sometimes, or I start with training direct. So it's pretty same every day.
All right. And do you have any specific tips in terms of the psychological side of training, or even the psychological side of just living a happy life? Because I feel that that's something that many people are really struggling with these days. Building healthy habits and especially building healthy psychological habits that help us perform at our peak. So clearly here you have many areas there nailed down, testified by your success in the world of professional sports. So do you have anything to share with our audience in that field?
Yeah, I think it's the most important. You live in the moment and enjoy in the moment, not always thinking about the future. What's happening? You need to be uh, focused in the moment and live by the moment. And yeah, I don't know what to say. I have a motto, which is my reason for being. It's dream big, achieve more. It's a different type, but this is what I'm doing always. Uh, I live by the moment, but I have also a dream, and I work hard for that one.
So talking of dreams, what are your goals for triathlon in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so I'm 20 years old, which is other sport. It's maybe the peak year, but in the triathlon, especially in the long distance, it's still a young year, because the peak is maybe around 35 years. So I still have time.
So you still have
But
5 more years until the typical peak.
yeah, or maybe more.
Yeah. What
Even
what are some of the what are some of the people who are setting all the records in triathlon? Like what age do people typically set the world records or their career records?
it's definitely after 35 years.
All right, so
And
so you still have plenty of time to go there.
yeah, I would. But it's like there is an example, the New Zealand guy, Cameron Brown. He's already 43 years or 44 years and still completing in the very, very high level. He won, or he's always in the podium, and he's the oldest Ironman champion with 43 years old. So yeah, it's not a young sport
Yeah, and
actually.
yeah, also I guess very good news for someone with a with such a good start, and also with a psychological component, because it seems like many of the sports where age seems to not be a hindrance for professional success, they seem to be somehow connected, well connected to the athlete's psychology, to psychology of the sport and developing that side.
Yeah, so it's this is because the triathlon it's an endurance sport, and the psychology, the mentally things, it's very important. That's why it's after 35 year or 35, when you're also your mind ready for this hard tough things. Your mind's ready. That's why it's the best age, I think.
Sure, but sorry, I hijacked the conversation entirely. So back to your own 5 year
Oh,
5 year plus plan as a pro triathlete.
yeah. So my priority goal is and theology is be better day by day, and I have been focusing more on the half distance, which is Ironman 70.3 for now, and in the future, in my I would like to focus, or already I focus more in the full distance triathlon, which is the Ironman distance. This is a 3.8 kilometer swim, 180 kilometer bike, and 42 kilometer run, which is I think I'm already enough old to do this in the first priority. So yeah, I would like to be successful in this distance in the future, and my main goal is win a big Ironman race. Yeah, this is my main goal. I think I can do this maybe 5 years later or something like that. I need more experience, and also I think for me the biggest opportunity to win like big race, it's maybe somewhere where it's very tough condition. So I focus more like in tough race, slow race, which is not too fast. This is my type of race. So that's why I race to Asia, where is every race it's very tough, especially because the weather it's very tough.
Right. And what are some of the other goals or other dreams you have in life apart from your journey as an Ironman athlete? I love that you call it a journey and a way of life, because I really feel that seems to be very common way of describing the lifestyle of a professional athlete. So what else is there that you're especially passionate about apart from Ironman and spreading the word of a triathlon?
Yeah, so yeah, there's always say the triathlon is a selfish sport. It's actually true, and of course when I'm doing professional triathlon, it's I'm doing a bit selfish things. That's why I always want to be back.
There was a bit
I
of a glitch in the microphone, so can you you were saying you always want to.
I always want to give back something for the peoples, because I actually I get a lot help and everything in my career. My main goals, I would like to be a coach and share my experience in the future.
Sounds great. This has been a very, very inspiring discussion. I can already feel the itch of putting on my trainers and doing a bit of running for my own for my own pursuits. I think one of the great things about pursuing things, even though you mentioned that triathlon is often perceived and said to be a selfish sport. I would also say that, of course, we do need those individuals who push the limits of human capability in order to see what's really possible and to also crush those mental obstacles in our thinking, because so much of what is perceived impossible, in my experience, is indeed not all that impossible. It only feels like that until it's done, and I think you're a perfect example of that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's maybe a selfish sport, but it's more than a selfish sport. So it's a very, very good thing for everybody, this triathlon. So I just want to say for everybody, if you have an opportunity, you should try it.
Is there any other message you would like to share and send to our audience before we wrap up?
Start triathlon.
that one I can see already coming from between the lines, and I think that's also something that's been quite prevalent, especially in Europe and also in the US. I'd say people of all ages picking up endurance racing and of course triathlon being big magnets in that field, and people even in their later years finding the joy of endurance racing and the joy of pushing their limits, even if they're not going for it even semi-professionally, but rather as a personal challenge. So I think that's definitely an exciting trend that's bubbling under and becoming more and more mainstream.
Yeah, so in a triathlon is no age limit or something. It's everybody can do it. And if you look like an Ironman race, it's more 1,000 people doing triathlon, and it's only maybe 1% which is professional athlete in the start line, and 99% is age group athlete who is doing like a hobby, more like one part maybe it's more serious, more just for fun. So yeah, this is a really amazing things, I think. So if you try, you I think you can you cannot stop it.
Very addictive. So where can people follow you and find more information about you, and especially follow your next races, of course, because that's what I'm at least very interested in.
Thank you. So I have a web page which is zsombordeak.com, and also I have an Instagram page. You can find me in Instagram and Facebook. These two things what I am always using. I have a Twitter, but I don't really use it. So, but this my web page, Instagram and Facebook, I'm active. So you can find my life and what I'm doing and where I am racing, what the results and everything. So these three part, definitely you can find me.
Awesome.
And follow.
And maybe find a bit of a hint on which continent you're currently racing on, because you're already always zipping around the world during season. Thank you so much, Zsombor. This has been a major privilege, and I found this talk very inspiring, and hope that we will have the chance to do this again very soon.
Thank you very much. I also hope I have a really good time with you and with the who is listening this show.
Awesome.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And to all our listeners, you can find, as usual, you can find the show notes on our blog, ambronite.com/Ironman. That's ambronite.com/Ironman. And you can check out also the other episodes, blog posts that we have there for triathletes, for endurance athletes, and also the other episodes of the Superhero Podcast. And that one you can find on ambronite.com/podcast. Thanks for listening, and see you soon, superheroes.
Thanks for listening to the Ambronite Superhero Podcast. Please check out the links, show notes, and other episodes at ambronite.com/podcast. That's AMBRONITE.com/podcast. Thanks again, and catch you in the next episode.